Hello everyone, today in this video, in this morning, we will fight against the atmosphere of our world around us, as we always do on this channel. In every video we try to do it, and this time we will consider very mysterious, as it looks like, beginnings of the Order of Templars. Medieval order from the period of the full Middle Ages that actually covered the existence of the order covers almost two-thirds or 70% of time span of High Middle Ages period. Really very interesting one. And everyone who is interested in the medieval history of Europe knows that the Templars had very turbulent, dramatic and brutal end due to the fact that there was a trial in the papal and royal court of France, and the order was cancelled. Master and the main treasurer were burned on the stake in Paris. Last Grand Master of Templars, Jacob de Molay, and the last treasurer were burned at the stake, as I said. And there is even a memorial on one of the bridges in Paris that here the last Master of Templars finished his life. I saw it by myself, being in Paris. And we all know that not all accusations that were used against Templars in these trials by people of the Philip the Fair, King of France, were true, because recently the Italian historian Barbara Frale found in the archives of Vatican City that Pope Boniface actually cleaned Templars from the accusation of heresy. So the accusation of heresy was cancelled. She found it on the old palimpsest. Palimpsest is a type of document palimpsest is actually a document that lost its previous writing due to the time, so they faded away, and was used again because pergamino or paper for long were very expensive, and later, once the first script fade away, it was used to perform to write down another document on it. And nowadays, with some optical spectroscopy techniques, very often we can read the later document script that was written on such document, and the previous one we also can read. So very often palimpsest have for us double value. So now we see that the processes of the Templars, so in the beginning of the 14th century, is very mysterious, and still we learn and discover new details about it, about the machinations, treachery and forgery and so on. But it turns out that similar issues we can have with the beginnings of this mysterious Knight Order, Templar Order. Because, as Italian historian Mario Moiraghi argues, he studied many documents in Italy and in South France, and he figured out that the identity of the famous founder of the Order of Templars, Mr. Ugo de Payens, his identity is not as simple as mainly French historians and later other historians repeating after them claim. Mr. Moiraghi goes further and claims that more or less in the 19th century the history of the Order of Templars, because everyone likes to have something famous and something interesting in history, was possessed by French scholars. And that's why the French origin was assigned to Mr. Ugo de Payens, who, as Mr. Mario Moiraghi, this Italian historian, proves on the basis of his investigation, was actually Ugo di Pagani, and he was the knight from the surroundings of Italian Nocera, city of Nocera on the south. When Mr. Moiraghi studies further his genealogy, he finds that the ancestor of Mr. Ugo di Pagani, not Ugo de Payens, was Norman knight who in about 10th 11th century, at the turn of this time, settled down the in the area of Italian Nocera. Of course, he had sons and daughters, and one of his descendants was, of course, Ugo di Pagani, who later became famous, and he was turned into French-speaking person by modern French historians who possessed the history of the Order of Templars for the French history. Very interesting book, very nicely documented. It's surprising that so many documents from the Italian and South French archives were and are still largely ignored with respect to the beginnings of the Order of Templars. And this book is quite good example of the positive and very needed historical revisionism. That not everything what we know it's 100% true, and sometimes true is a little bit complicated. That's why the only true is the most interesting thing in the world. And here I agree with that. So that's why I don't know if this book was translated into English, most likely not yet, but it's available in its original Italian. As far as I know, it was translated in Polish and other Romanic languages, but I hope that soon it will be available also in English, because this is really amazing discovery about the origin of the founder, of the one of the main founders of the Order of Templars, that he was actually Italian knight, originated in some generations back from the Norman knight who settled down in Italy. But for sure he didn't come from Champagne, and he was not in quotation French, as modern French historians like to present, to possess their own history and to possess the history of other nations, because as we know in the medieval times, France, modern territory of France, was not as French as we may think, because there were many other nations and many other languages. The most still vital example still existing, and also in Middle Ages very fertile in terms of culture especially, is the Occitan language on the south of France, known also as language of Provence. And now, due to the fact that in early modern times and after French Revolution, people were forced to speak only French, and there was the Franconization, let's call it like this, of many nations, we think that all of these territories and all of these people, also in the past, many people tend to do this dangerous extrapolation that this what we see now in terms of languages was also the same in the medieval times. No, it wasn't, and the case of Ugo di Pagani, not Ugo di Payens, shows us really beautifully how we should be careful in studying history to know the truth. All the best, bye.